right?
You're good.
We're good?
Wait,
Alright, oh, hang on, we're gonna start off the, no problem.
Smiling a lot of letters.
You're on the same meeting, I just joined the meeting and it said it's still waiting for folks to start the meeting.
we're on.
Brought this.
I haven't recorded it yet, that's what you're listening for.
Recording in progress.
Ah, there it goes. Make sure my audio is off because I don't want to cause feedback. There we go. Come on, audio is off. Okay, I can watch myself, that's weird. All right, good evening, Dayton, welcome to the Town of Dayton Planning Board regular meeting and public hearing this Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. Let's all stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And just for a reminder, this is a public meeting being video and audio recorded for cable broadcast. So, first item on the agenda is to organize the board. Organize the board.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Wait, I'm sorry. Before you do that, the chairman has to declare all seats vacant.
Yeah, I declare all seats vacant. Vacant, vacant.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would like to
There's no chairman.
thank the board for all the previous work in last year's time. And I would like to also thank Carrie Easterday for all the hard work she's done for us in the past year.
Thank you, Ken.
And I would like to make a nomination to keep the board entirely the same as it is and was, with Jeff Cavallo being the chairman, Dan Higgins vice chair, Mr. Cunier, the clerk, Joe Figurito, and myself members. I would also,
I second that, and we're done. How's that?
okay, we're almost done. We still have a couple more of appointments to do.
Do we have to vote, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we can vote on those.
You said, so was that your motion? No,
Yeah, I'll make
second.
that in the form of a motion.
Okay. And you seconded?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Nope.
Okay, also our annual appointments for this year with the Serpent representative from the town, no, from the planning board
That
would
was
be
already
Jeff
done.
Cavallo.
That was already done, we already did that.
Yeah, I
All
think we did
set?
that. Yeah, I think we did that.
How about the CPC?
CPC,
We need to make a
Okay.
statutory appointment for the CPC,
right?
which I would make a nomination for Dan Higgins.
I'll second if you accept it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I would like to make another nomination for myself on the Stormwater Committee with Joe Figurito as alternate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All set?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Woods. All right, confirming the next regular meeting, it will be Wednesday, May 15th. We think?
As
If
of
we
right
have
this
any items.
second, I have no items on the agenda.
Okay.
Otherwise, the next meeting will be June 5th.
All right, so,
We can determine that at the end of the meeting if you want to do that.
okay, sounds good to me. All right, so May 15th is the next planned. If nothing's on the agenda, then one after that is June 5th. Thank you, Mrs. Easterday. Okay, so next item on the agenda is item 5A. Number 1 is Justin and Stephanie Pratt, 14 Maris Lane, with the water and drainage problems.
Mr.
evening.
Chairman, again, my name is Elliot Brea from North Andover, Massachusetts, representing Mr. and Mrs. Pratt. They have a couple of exhibits that I may pass out to help you.
Please.
I apologize, I received them today about 4 o'clock. The first is just a side angle of the house to orientate you as to what we're looking at. I did provide one to Carrie earlier.
Okay.
The second one is a glow-up of the back corner in question of the house, which is easier to read. So if we look at the first one, this is simply a side elevation of the house. And you can see there's a line there. That top of foundation is 37 feet, 5 inches. Because I needed to get an understanding of some grades here, what we're dealing with. The bottom of the foundation is at 30 point, oh, my glasses on, 1.6. And the bottom of the high water mark is 29.89. So basically, 10 vertical inches below the basement door is the high water mark that the water came up to. That water has drastically receded in the lack of rain for the last 2 weeks since I was last here. The bottom of the pond, I got out there with a stick with the transit, it was roughly 25.89. So if you look at the second plan now, it blows everything up and gives you a better idea. So, top of foundation again, 37.5. We have existing basement slab, you can see it's 30.16. And again, the high water mark. The proposal that I had a couple of contractors go down there and say, listen, you can't use the street because the invert at the street is 32 feet. So you need injector pumps, that's not gonna work. The idea was to create what they call an airway. So basically raise the grade to, we see where it says proposed new grade, 32.99, which would be about 10 inches below the vinyl siding. And we would have an airway, so if the back of the house was where Joseph is here, I don't think you say that last name correctly, I don't want to say it, sorry.
It's okay, you can, I've been called all kinds of names.
So you would basically walk 4 steps down
And you'd be a
into
grade.
your basement. And we would raise the grade roughly 4 feet. That grade would then taper down towards the waterway to probably from 32 to probably like 29 feet. And then we would put a Cultec system in there. We would retain the water, detain the water, and we think that that would alleviate the problem. Since I did meet here last time, there's certainly some, I think the conservation agent stated that this was not a wetland, but there is a conservation restriction, which you may be aware of regarding the box turtle. So I did reach out to National Heritage. I got some communication going with her. I don't have a survey on the ground yet to determine exactly where that box turtle restricted area is. I roughly guessed. Looking at it, it looks like the back portion of the pond area would be in that area. So it seems I'd have to get relief from that. And again, I'm not constructing anything in the sense of a building or a house or anything like that. I would just be raising the grade. And it would still be the restricted area. Or in the alternative, raise the grade to that point, put a 4 to 5 foot wall, put a fence.
I don't think that you'd need a 4 or 5 foot wall there, you know, if that was,
Yeah, it's probably like 2.5 feet, to be honest with you, once I get that far out, according to these grades. 'Cause
if I may,
Sure.
I spoke to a lot of different people in
Yep.
regards to this.
Yep.
I was actually almost yelled at by one of the neighbors, but in either case, it's, I spoke to one of the conservation agents, and he told me that 2 or 3 contractors ago, they made sure to put on or said during the meeting that that was a problem there, and therefore, they had to take care of that issue of the drainage then.
Who's they, I'm
But
sorry?
obviously,
Who would they have been?
the developer.
Right.
So it's been passed from contractor to contractor to contractor, and nothing ever got done. Now, I don't know if that means anything at this point here. I know I was there, and I can tell you, it is definitely an issue there, and I'm sure you've seen it.
Interesting, when I was looking at the plans, and again, I'm ninth inning, 2 outs, 2 strikes. I'm pretty late to this game, as you're saying. This is a 2012 approved plan in the conservation. The finished grade on the plans that were approved shows the backyard at 36 feet. There was no walkout contemplated. It's 30.16. They put a walkout. Now, the swale was there, but they didn't build in accordance with that, certainly that wetland plan. It's right in the plan. It's a 36-foot, right around the house, a grade. So there is the, as you say, the root cause. If that had been filled at that time,
Maybe not even filled, if they had ran a pipe on the corner of where the road and the property on the back. They had put a pipe underground to absorb all that water into Center Street.
I'm gonna also suspect, as full disclosure, I'm suspecting that they tied all the drains in and dumped them into that back area.
I can't.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Well, I'll find out, if I dig, I'll find out.
Yeah, is there anything else on this? I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Aguirre if you're,
I'm done.
okay, you're done. So, okay, so I get what you're trying to do here. Obviously, there's some entanglements here with the conservation restrictions, so there's some work to be done with trying to figure out how to navigate that other additional complication, but does anybody else on the board have any questions or comments for the applicants here? Well, not the applicants, but you know what I mean?
I think we should
Yeah.
listen to Mr.
Mr. Aguirre, if you wouldn't mind, please
Sure.
addressing this.
Sure. So, yeah, I have a question, but before I go to the question, I want to address Mr. Figueredo's comments. The issue with conservation, the Conservation Commission particularly, implementing any regulatory requirements over subdivision is that it's not enforceable by the issuance of a certificate of occupancy because they work independently outside of your permitting authority and my permitting authority. So if conservation had a concern about grading, or in this particular case where, we could have an issue with drainage, it should have been addressed with the planning board, and then the planning board could have written it into its permitting conditions, and then it would have been able to be captured before a certificate of occupancy was issued. That didn't happen.
I'm sorry to say, but because of the issues that we've had with this subdivision there for the last, 15 years, contractor after contractor, I think that may be the issue,
It's possible. It's very-
So
it's-
I'm not trying to defend anybody.
No, I
And I'm
understand.
not trying to accuse anybody,
Right.
it's, so many things have been said and done that
Right.
no one knows who said what and when, that's, I think.
Right. In the future, though, when we have this before us, just be mindful, that's the only way that we can make it enforceable. Not that Concom can't enforce it independently, it just can't be captured on the building permit side of things. So, that said, I agree with you, we need to move forward. I think I heard you say something about some underground drainage.
The contractor that came, and this is completely an opinion, this is no fact, and he said it would be determined, in real site work. He's concerned that some of the corner downspouts are connected to that area.
The downspouts,
From the
oh,
house.
so that's the drainage you were talking
Yes.
about? Well, that's quite possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
quite possible. I thought you were talking about the stormwater
Absolutely
infrastructure.
not, no.
Okay,
No, in fact, the stormwater, as I said, the invert was at 32 feet, so it's irrelevant to my discussion.
right. So, I think what you're proposing is in the right direction, knowing that some landscape drains may go in that area, which is natural because it's a low point in the property. If any filling occurred, I think you should be mindful that some type of subterranean drain is appropriate.
Yeah, a Caltech system is what we're
Yes,
proposing.
exactly.
Yes.
And if you do that, you can actually do a surface drain, landscape drain, which then would go into the subterranean Caltex or whatever you use. And as long as it's above the water table, it'll work. It'll infiltrate. So that idea, I think, is more realistic than trying to fill the whole backyard in and daylight your drainage swale to another location. et cetera,
That's not my
et cetera.
intention at
So,
all.
right.
If you look at this plan, you'll see that I'm not putting any water on anyone else's property.
Right,
This is a net zero.
yeah.
No, And in fact, if you walk the site, which you have, I mean, there's a pretty steep embankment behind there, and I took pictures, and we actually shot some paint, to give an idea, a visual. We're like 5.5 feet below the hill. So there's no off-water site. Obviously, it has to be above the water table, and these are things that I would have to determine. I don't have that information right now, what the water table was, I gotta figure that out, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that it's draining the way it's draining, it's telling me the water table is below grade right now.
Right.
Best guess.
Right. Yeah.
I agree.
So the only thing I would question the planning board on tonight is, if you're willing to proceed with this, is that if the grading or the infilling impacted the conservation area, then as you said, relief would need to be sought before any work could be done.
Yeah, I've already reached out to her,
Natural heritage.
correct?
I guess just keeping the Conservation Commission in the loop on
Right.
discussions, because they'd have to be involved in the.
As to what filings, if any, I have to make with them, and I want to be realistic. There'll be no work done until it's fully dry. So this isn't, we're not contemplating doing this in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
I mean, it's got to be, because we're going to have to move a couple of down trees. They're already down.
I cut them down
that are-
last year.
that are
I got
this big.
approval. I just couldn't get them out because the crane, if it was on the edge of that,
Yeah.
grade, it would have just went right down in the ditch, so we just left them for now.
So assuming the appropriate permission is granted, this is probably like a midsummer type project, realistically.
Okay,
It'd be the best time to do it.
okay. And then any other recommendations for?
No, those are the only two permits that are required. There's no other permit required. Unless you alter the basement ingress, which we can talk about.
I'm not changing the door, I'm changing the access to it.
Okay.
Because, as I said, we've got to raise the grade in order to get the Cultec system in.
Right.
Agreed?
Yeah,
So, and I got to cover it by a foot.
right.
So we got to calculate that it'll work. So you're going to walk down probably 4 steps to go into the basement. Whereas now it's dead grade flat.
Right. Yep, but that's.
Railings, all that appropriate,
Right,
whatever we
right.
need.
Yeah, that may be a building permittable event, but we
Right.
can discuss that.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah. All right, anything we need to act on? We can't act on anything right now, it's really just
No?
reporting on, okay,
As I said, I wanted to come here today with some information and some options,
okay.
trying to narrow the issues down.
I think your options will be down selected based on the approvals you're able to get,
Right.
it sounds like, okay. I guess let us know if you need anything further from us.
All right, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Say hi to my butt.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay, next item on the agenda is, let me get the whole thing here, to, review, discuss, and act on end-of-year budget transfer request for Forest Hills Estates.
So if you'd like me to explain, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, please, Mrs. Easterday. Oh, apologies. And Carrie, can we turn on closed captioning? I don't know if we easily do that. Oh, captions, right there. There it is. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I don't, yeah. Do you know how to do this easily?
I'll keep working on that.
Okay, I think we'll do it next time. Preferably English.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Okay, all
I'll
right.
try. So the end of the year budget transfer request, over the course of the year, when we were having some changes with town accountants and whatnot, unfortunately, Forest Hills Estates has 2 53G accounts, one for the Conservation Commission and one for the Planning Board. It was realized that Conservation Commission had inadvertently been using our 53G account for peer review. So when it was captured and rebalanced, it brought our account into a negative for their 53G account. Several requests were made. What's that?
To the tune of $5,524.33.
Correct. So, several attempts were made from DI Trust to replenish the account, and so far they are not agreeing to do so. So what we have to do for our annual budget is we have to transfer some money from our professional technical account to their 53G account, and then Attorney Tollerman is advising them at.
Well, we'll
Stated,
be noting this and putting it on our list of issues, so to speak,
Correct.
with DI Trust and Forest Hills in general.
And it should be noted too that if and when they determine to come back to the planning board after the appeal is done, or maybe even before, whatever their intent is, they won't be able to submit anything until this is made whole,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
You're welcome. So we do need a formal vote to transfer the monies from our professional technical account, which we have sufficient amount of money. We have
To the
plenty.
Forest Hills account?
To the Forest Hills Estate 53G account.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to transfer $5,524.33 from the planning's professional and technical account to the Forest Hills Estate account.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion before we take it to vote? None? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Easy. All right, so, on the agenda, do we want to take this out of order?
You can.
It's up to you, sir.
All right, I think the, we have to take, is that a vote to take it out of order?
You don't.
Take it out of order, all right. So I propose we take the agenda out of order so we can jump down to the retreat lot. Actually, that's a public hearing, isn't it?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm fine.
Either way.
Fine, thank you. Unless someone else has to go.
Well, I'm just thinking that the discussion of the documents can take a little longer.
Right, so you'd have to recess when it comes time for the public hearing, because that's a timed
So
hearing.
it
is that-
starts at 7 o'clock. I start them all at 7.
Oh, okay, so then you should be able to take it out of order.
We'll take it out of order. All right, so, I gotta look at my flow chart here, don't I? First, we have to open it and read the public hearing, so let me get to that part here. Please stand by.
Yes, it is. Yeah, see?
Confusing me.
This is keep me out of trouble flow chart. Still managed to get myself in trouble. Just laughing in the back of the room. Now what? Stand by. Just get to the reading. The notice is here, right? Here it is. Excellent. Okay, so, yeah, we can make a motion to open the public hearing, right, first? And then we read the notice? All right, somebody want to make a motion to open the public hearing for David Butler, trustee of the Butler Family Irrevocable Trust, 833 William Street, map 8, lots 20 and 21, for a special permit application.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, motion made. Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes to open the public hearing. So now read the legal notice. Dayton Planning Board, May 1st, 2023, 7 PM. Notice is hereby given, the Town of Dayton Planning Board will conduct a public hearing on the special permit application by David E. Butler, trustee of the Butler Family Irrevocable Trust, for approval of the creation of 2 retreat lots located at 833 William Street, being shown as Assessor's Map 18, lots 20 and 21, pursuant to sections 5090 and 5300 of the Town of Dayton zoning bylaws. Copies of the application may be viewed in the Planning Board office during normal business hours and requested by email at kEasterday@dayton-ma.gov. Any person wishing to be heard on the above application should appear at the time and place designated for the public hearing. Signed, Dayton Planning Board, Jeff Cavallo, Chairman. So, is someone here to present on this project? Sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Right. My name is Richard Rael. I'm chief engineer at Prime Engineering, and our address is 350 Bedford Street, Lakeville, Mass.
Thank you.
And we prepared the plans.
Okay,
The history of this lot is that it was originally being surveyed by another survey company, and they came up with a conceptual plan to divide it into two separate lots with inadequate frontage. And instead of filing for retreat lots, they went to the zoning board of appeals and got a variance, saying they had a hardship due to soil shape and topography. Then that company ended up not doing this type of work anymore. They got acquired by somebody else and their line of work is different. So we were hired to do the actual survey. That original plan had been a conceptual wetlands line just from internet. We had an actual wetland scientist delineate the wetlands, which ended up being more extensive than what the original plan had shown. So our plan ended up showing different frontage, different area, different boundaries, and different wetlands. And so when we looked at it, rather than make up some story about how the soils was unique on this lot, or the topography was unique on this lot, we felt it was better to just come in straightforward and say, this qualifies in every way for a retreat lot. And so we're not activating the variance. It would require us going back to the zoning board and amending it. And so we just thought it was straightforward to come back to the board that typically approves approval not required plans. And so that's what we're presenting. There's an existing driveway that crosses wetlands, and we were going to utilize that wetlands, that driveway for the new lot, and then put a new driveway in for the beginning of the existing lot. We're going to be redoing the septic system on the existing lot. We're going to be doing a new septic system. We're in front of the Conservation Commission with a request for them to verify that they agree with the wetland delineation.
okay,
And then we're going to have to come in with a notice of intent to construct a driveway in accordance with what the fire department wants to see, which is a minimum 20-foot width of a durable all-weather vehicle. They seem to have stuck in with 12-foot width of it being asphalt or other approved surface. And hopefully we wouldn't have the planning board requiring that. It'd probably cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 to $50 a foot, and there are 1,000 feet between the two driveways, so it'd be an extra $50,000. And the National Fire Prevention Association regulations just require basically an all-season, a durable, drivable drive. So that's what we like to do it. And we were asked to make the fire access drive for both lots. And the lot for the existing house has had that exact same driveway for many decades. And so we're requesting the planning board not mandate that long-term driveway be redone, but that the new drive be done. The existing drive is about 600 feet long. The proposed driveway would be about 400 feet long.
okay. Okay, so, is that all, sir?
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, so the plans we have before us this evening, show, I mean, these new plans show, this is the new delineation, right, shown on the plans? There's a new set of drawings that get sent to us, because we do have the previous ones that were sent to the ZBA, and those were slightly different. So, the only thing that I saw in these drawings missing were and I think you've already received the communication. I don't know if the new drawings have this, or if you provided new drawings or not, but there was a couple of references that were missing, just standard boilerplate references, one that talked about notations that say the retreat lot depicted in this Form A shall never be further divided, and then also that it needs to also state that the retreat lot as shown in this plan, which would be, times 2, shall not be further subdivided, and no building permit shall be issued for the retreat lot in this plan until a copy of the recorded deed, restriction, and special permit is delivered to the planning board. So there's very specific words and notations that need to be on the drawings. Those are the only things that I saw missing. But
We put those notes on the plan. I have got a Mylar
Yep.
and 7 copies of that.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't know is whether you would require the upgrade of the 2 driveways. So I've got 2 separate plans, one with lot 2 being the only one that gets upgraded, and a separate set, full complete set
Right.
for lots 1
Okay.
and 2 having the upgraded driveways.
I think before we can make a call on that, I guess if you are requesting some kind of a variation of what the requirements are, we'd have to run that by the fire chief, because that's something that they would be requesting, and have to get determination from them whether or not that would be permittable. But I think for tonight, it could be, because you are still going through the cycle of going through the Conservation Commission anyway, I think with an ANRAD.
Yes, I believe it's an ANRAD that you have before the Conservation
Yes.
Commission.
Right, yeah, so you still have to go through that cycle before you come back to us for any final approval. There's still some time to get any requests for any variations to the requirements for a retreat lot and for the driveway construction vetted through the police chief, fire chief, so that we can get their input before we can make a call on that. So there's time to hold.
You feel you have to keep the public hearing open?
We can continue the public hearing until we hear back from the fire chief.
Yeah, I think the fire chief did respond, right, that no?
No, he stated, well, he did respond, and he said he needed more additional information on the plan before
Oh,
he could make any comments on that.
Yeah, he wanted elevations and design of the driveways so that he could feel confident that his fire engine could make the turn.
Okay.
That's a minimum 50-foot outer radius. So we can certainly submit
Okay.
plans to him and detail that.
Yeah, if you run it through Mrs. Easterday, she can make sure, I don't know if you want to be the point person in
Yeah,
that.
you can just email those updated plans to me, and then I can forward it off to him, and then he'll respond in an email of
And
what's
you're
acceptable.
also suggesting that we not make a decision until after the Concom review, which is May 30th for them, right?
Correct,
Yeah. So do we keep, are we to keep the public hearing open?
yes.
We should, right? Yeah,
If you close it, they have to redo everything.
right,
I
okay.
don't want to do that. So the.
Concom, you mean?
My suggestion is, when you do continue it, you have to give a specific date, otherwise they have to re-notify the abutters again.
Got it, okay.
So, I think you're meeting with Concom on May 30th, right?
Right, the meeting is only to confirm the wetlands line. We would subsequently have to file a notice of intent to actually do, because this widening of the road means we have to fill wetlands on both sides, and then we have to replicate wetlands, so that'll not be something that we can accomplish in a month. So you should probably continue the hearing at least into your June meeting.
But we have one on June 5th, so that would be the earliest.
We have a June 5th, and then the next one after that was July.
Oh, it's in,
July. Hold on.
Yeah, we have one in June, one in July, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you continue to June and we haven't completed, can you just continue to the meeting in July?
June 5th and, yes, July 17th. Those are the next two opportunities. So we can definitely target June 5th, and depending
Yeah,
on,
let's continue to June 5th, and then if we haven't gotten all our ducks in order, we'll communicate that we request an extension to the July meeting.
okay, so,
I did just have one question, though.
Yep,
Just so the applicant's aware of, like, what's expected of them regarding the communication from Tom Ferry about the strong possibility of a cross culvert pipe being upgraded or added. Is that going to come back to us? Was that, because it's proximity to conservation, is it gonna go to conservation? Because it's very close to their land, right? Or the wetlands on the map.
that should be presented to Concom as soon as possible, in case
Right.
there is some implications, so not,
Right.
you don't have to go back to Concom and add any further delays on the timeline. Are you familiar with what he was talking about? You want to discuss that?
So we received communication from Tom Ferry, Highway Superintendent, April 25th. To whom it may concern, please be advised that if a new driveway was to be considered for the above egress, a cross culvert pipe should be considered, at least a 12-inch pipe at minimum under said driveway to allow stormwater to flow to the south. Feel free to contact me with any questions, Thomas Ferry.
Yeah, we would certainly provide that.
Okay.
Okay,
That'd be part of our conservation filing.
that was just what I wanted to bring it
Right,
up.
we
so
wouldn't be
you're
trapping
aware.
water, we would, if it's,
To pass water, yeah.
Right,
We-
okay.
We're just, what Mr. Higgins was saying was if you're going to talk to Conservation anyway, just, it sounds like you're already planning to bring that up and make that part of your conversation, just so we don't miss that detail and have to circle back with Conservation Commission.
no, we'd have a very detailed grading plan.
Okay.
With drainage, with computations to show that the 12-inch pipe is adequate.
Okay.
And as I said, the conservation is certainly going to make us do replication, so we'll have to have that as part of the overall plan.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Higgins?
Do
Gentlemen,
these two driveways connect, sir?
They're not going to connect, there'll be two independent driveways,
The two independent, completely, separate?
completely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's an existing one that goes,
Right, I'm just looking at the map here, and it looks like one
Yeah.
connects.
Yeah, on the last page, it shows it.
shows the final.
Yes.
This
I
one,
have no issues with this last page, but the other one, I
well, it
Looks
shows
like
it
it
here,
connects.
but then on the new drawing, it shows it, that it connects. If you see, like right here, that goes there, and like that, so it's a little,
Well, that connection should, yeah.
then it shows it coming in here too,
Yeah.
so.
Common drives are not allowed in Dayton? Or are they?
They're not allowed.
They're not allowed.
No, they're not allowed. They would not, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please.
when they do apply for building permit, if they showed any interconnection of driveways at any location, they would not get a permit.
Right.
Bad.
Yeah, it still shows because that's the existing drive right there, and this is, that connection is going to be removed, and it's gonna turn like this, and this one is gonna be separate this way, and not,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the existing drive right here.
Yeah, they need to be separate.
yeah, there will be. Both will be on the individual lots, as shown on the plan.
I guess what we're saying is if you look at the plans we have, they, at no point doesn't show them separate.
No.
Is it separate there?
Yeah,
On the old plan it is.
proposed here,
Yeah.
proposed, and then
Old
pick
plan,
up,
it
so
shows it.
two driveways.
I know, but look here,
Yeah, I know, that's existing.
it's existing,
So
right?
that'll be cut out,
Yeah,
replaced,
Yeah, I know.
extended, so yeah.
They should have this.
you still show a connection between the two there.
Yes, but
Yes.
that, yeah, but.
I know, but that's what we're saying, is there,
Okay.
we don't have a set of drawings without that connection being there.
Okay.
Anything else, Rudy?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Figurito, anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Good here. So at this time, we can take public comment? Is anyone from the public, either here in the audience or anyone on Zoom, that is here for this public hearing, which is to speak on this? Okay, hearing none. I have no further questions. Mr. Aguirre?
No, sir.
further?
Thank you.
Mrs. Easterday? Gentlemen of the board? All right, so at this point, get a motion to continue the public hearing for this matter until June 5th.
So move.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
sir.
you.
Good luck with Concom, and we'll hopefully see you on the 5th. I guess if you can, make sure you keep Mrs. Easterday in the loop so we know if we should act on this matter on the 5th or if we should just have you on the agenda and continue it to the July timeframe. Yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Awesome. Thank you for the coach back, Mrs. Easterday.
Welcome.
All right, so did you make me a co-host yet? Can you? If you would not mind. All right, so right now, we're gonna circle back to item number 5A, number 3, for discussing the coordination between town permitting authorities and project inspections. This is the meat of the meeting right here. This is where it's at.
You should be able to,
Okay.
hopefully.
Just gotta open it. Open it. Maximize. Share screen. Awesome. Okay, there it is. Excellent. All right, so minimize this. The microphone's off, right? No crazy feedback. All right, so unfortunately, I don't think this is going to help you guys as much as I thought it would. Because you can't see that, but anybody on camera can. So let me. I sent you guys home with some homework last time, and I know some of you had a chance to look at it. Some all of you did. There's two documents really that we're looking at. I'm going to cheat and go to the second one first because I think it's easier. Called the Construction Site and Post-Construction Stormwater Inspections. This is the one dated March 5th, 2024. That's page 2 here. Can you see that? I can't see that.
And I know.
I think I
Not
could-
even with my glasses.
I know, maybe I can just zoom in like this.
That's-
That's all right.
I'm zooming in here.
that's-
Oh, there you are.
Whoa. All right, so I can take this guy and, oh, that's you, you gotta just minimize that guy. I just zoom to the top. All right, so, so this is the original document. So I think I have some comments on this. I don't have many comments on this one. This one was a little bit easier to get through, I think. Less, I guess, landmines for me. Let me get this out. So on this one here, I think it'd be easier if we just went around and, Ms. Jagger, you probably have some comments as well, but I want to kind of gather inputs from the planning board on what you guys have for feedback on this particular one. And I'm going to turn on track changes on here so I can record what you're asking. And we are definitely doing document modification by committee. All right. Who wants to go first? All right, Joe, what you got?
Come on, Joseph, you're on the end.
Joseph, wow.
We'll take the middle.
Take the middle. All right, so on this first paragraph, I mean, did you guys have any comments or feedback on changes you wanted to see here?
Comments, I guess. So this will all be determined at the time of permitting. So we have multiple permitting bodies, obviously. This kind of gets into maybe the next one, but at this point, we're just saying whatever the authorized permitting body is, the onus is on them to involve the stormwater, not necessarily the stormwater committee, but to make appropriate stipulations with appropriate funding to care for stormwater pre-construction, post-construction, maintenance reviews, et cetera, correct?
Right. Yeah.
It may involve the stormwater committee, it may just involve something else, depending upon what the needs are, but
Okay.
true statement? Is that my understanding?
That's my understanding as well.
Okay. Do we have a mechanism for determining cost upfront like this? I mean,
With, peer review?
well, for this,
Or-
like pre-construction, post-construction maintenance reviews, that sounds a little
Normally
nebulous.
there's-
And how would you go about assessing?
Some of the development plans usually have a, what's it called again? A maintenance plan or maintenance,
53G, so that would be the, peer review, oh my
So-
gosh.
no,
I
we're
think,
talking about
I think,
maintenance
I think
plans.
you have a two-step question. First, the reviews would be via a quote from our peer review engineer.
Pre-construction.
However, the bonding for ongoing maintenance of said infrastructure, there is no formula.
For how to come up with the dollar amount,
One should be established.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Like, when you say that, you mean like 2% of the I mean, is there a way we could get an
No, literally, Agent Pilling and I used to walk the site and come up with a figure that we thought it could be maintained. That's how it's done, and I don't think that's an accurate way to do it. So, there should be a more defined process of how we request the bond amounts. So I think during this process, we should be establishing some type of a constant so that an applicant would know if I have X amount of stormwater infrastructure, this is about what the maintenance bond will be. Certainly, it can be fine-tuned, but we shouldn't be just, I'm not saying we did anything wrong, but there should be a more defined process.
and how do you, again, I know we brought this up with solar and the decommissioning, and this kind of came up then too, or at least I think I brought it up. How do you factor in, okay, it might cost 10 grand today,
Right,
but it might be 35 in 15 years.
right.
So is there like an accelerator?
Well, normally, there was a 2% accelerator per year, but we all know, because we go to the grocery store, that
That's
went to
blown out of
the
the
hell in a
water.
handbasket, right? So, I don't know the answer to that question. Typically, it was 2% per year, but it's been 10% for the last two, so.
Yeah. I think 3 is what they say is the average, but that's gone.
Right.
But even at that point, how do we establish the actual cost? Every project is different.
Right, so I can tell you that from my experience, the argument for developers on the decommissioning has been, whatever the dollar amount is today, the cost of the scrap that would be realized in 20 years from now would offset the inflationary costs of the dollar amount today. I feel that that's just not an accurate way to do it.
That's a guess.
Right. What will scrap be in 20 years? What will the
Right.
inflation rate be in 20 years? So, unfortunately, it's kind of a moving target because we don't really have any 20-year-old solar arrays anywhere. Out west, there might be a few, but they're still in operation.
Right.
So it's not an easy question to answer. From a maintenance bond perspective with stormwater infrastructure, I think we can probably do some homework and come up with a more definitive way to calculate those versus how we've done it in the past. I can tell you that I've always tried to ask for more than what I thought or we thought would be appropriate, just to make sure that the townspeople were covered. And those are only in case, in the event that something does not get maintained. They're required to maintain them, but if they don't, then the bond is there so that we can maintain it ourselves.
Okay.
So I think more work is needed for that, and I think we should rely on the professionals we have at our disposal to help us with that, our peer review engineers.
Who would be the person that establishes that amount, that,
Well, if we can come up with a formula that is presented by someone who did real-world calculations, then I think we as a board and a committee and a town would have the ability to calculate the formula based on the project.
I'm kind of puzzled on that because every project is different. And there is so many variables that go into it.
I just had an idea. How about if we get an actual estimate from a contractor?
Yeah.
I thought with some of the, some of the projects that we were getting, they did have some kind of maintenance plan and estimate. Maybe there wasn't an estimate, there was definitely a maintenance plan. Where I made it, for stormwater management, right. Because I made a comment once when I looked at a set of drawings, I'm like, well, that's a good idea, we should make that a requirement for everybody. 'Cause they just happen to have, or provide, it was a paragraph of what the intent would be and how they would do it, and,
Right, it's turning that language into a dollar amount,
right.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, is seeking a contractor to give us a written estimate away? I don't know. I don't know about the procurement, they're actually not getting, they may not get the job, you know?
Right.
This is only for solar arrays, right?
No,
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 this is for everything,
anything.
Including subdivisions?
everything,
everything.
everything.
All projects.
Subdivisions, that should go into the HOA.
HOA.
Yeah, and that's what I said on
They
mine.
do.
So,
They do, so,
so my version here is, so, I guess, you know, here's my version of that paragraph. I said, okay, borne by the permittee and should be defined through an established homeowners association if applicable. So that, sorry, I didn't know that, I didn't know how directed that was. So in my version here, and I was really pushing this to be, because I was focused on subdivisions, and I say if applicable, because it certainly doesn't apply for commercial situations, right? You don't have an HOA.
Not always, no.
Yeah, so, but for subdivisions, you have to have a maintenance plan. You have to have costs, estimated costs, and you have to establish the HOA primarily for the stormwater system maintenance
Right,
to continue on. So that's like the main reason these things are put in place to begin with.
right.
Is for stormwater system management and stormwater system, well, for the health of the system, and so it continues to operate properly throughout the years. So that was, so yeah, so HOA, I think, definitely is here, and I don't know where this would then wind up in some enforceable thing, because HOAs right now are not enforceable. And that's part of the issues we're having with a lot of developments in town, is they're kind of open-ended and they never really set to where they've got to set, so,
Jim has a comment on that.
yes.
So I think it's noteworthy that if we are requiring a stormwater maintenance bond for a solar array, which is privately held or publicly held, we don't know, why wouldn't we do the same for an HOA, which we could have the same issues with for enforcement? Just because it's an HOA doesn't mean they're actually gonna take care of the stormwater infrastructure.
Right.
So would we want to consider blanket across the board, require a maintenance bond so that we have the funds available if an HOA defaults and doesn't do it? We have a mechanism to lien the properties, but we don't have the money. But with a bond, we have the money.
Okay.
Just a thought. Then we'll make it consistent across the board. And that bond could be put up by the developer prior to acceptance.
So making the bond a universal language.
Correct.
Okay.
I wonder what other cities and towns do, how do they work this out?
Well, I drive into a lot of subdivisions, home subdivisions, that stormwater basins are not maintained. So I think we're right now in line with what most people do, which is nothing. But I think we really need to move away from that, especially with the way the weather has been lately. This stuff needs to be maintained properly for it to work properly.
Agreed. All right, so I think, yeah, so it's effectively, yeah, some of what I said as well, but I do like the maintenance bond being just a blanket statement for everybody.
One other, I don't see.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go for it.
So, in here, we're talking about pre-construction, during, immediately after, but not long-term. I mean, we talk about long-term as a bond, but not long-term as an inspection,
Right,
right?
right.
And there's cost to do long-term as an inspection.
Right.
So how do we get to the point where we're able, either as a town or as through some other, contractor, to make sure that that's happening? And is that part of this conversation too?
It's a great point. I would prefer it not to be the responsibility of the town officials. It should be third party, but to your point, how do we pay for that?
I mean, you could just, it's part of, the developer has to put up the money to pay for it, but then again, how do you bake that in, how do you calculate it? And it's probably easier to calculate, but how do you just make sure it's baked into the bond amount we're receiving that we can tap into?
And could we set up a person to go around and make sure that these things are done?
I think it should be the stormwater committee.
If they don't do it, then there is fines
Yeah.
or something like that, just.
My feeling is the role of the stormwater committee should be more focused on ensuring that the existing infrastructure is being maintained, working properly, and the people responsible for said work are doing it. But it doesn't mean the stormwater committee physically inspects it. I think that should be a role, as Dan said, as a third party or someone else. So as part of the permitting process through this board, we could come up with an established fee that's required. I guess the challenge I'm having is how many years do we have them front money for, you know?
Right.
We'll have to hone that down to something that's realistic.
100.
100 years? Good God. And so we're thinking possibly stormwater could be, that's a huge delay in typing. I typed and I saw it typed. So, stormwater committee can potentially be lead for conducting the periodic inspections. And we need to establish some kind of a fee structure. Okay. That's where we're talking about the frequency, right? The second paragraph there. Typical inspections and their frequency. Okay. Anything else on this one, Mr. Higgins? Joe? Joseph?
All of these things should be done yearly, but there are others that may have to be done more often because of the soil conditions and things like that, storms can wash away things, and this is a pretty, there's a lot of questions that come into play on this.
There's nothing easy about this. No,
No, there isn't.
I agree. Woody?
Could the wording as needed?
Where, as needed here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's required.
Okay.
I mean, it's on a case-by-case basis, right?
Oh, it would have to be.
Can be.
As required inspections on a case-by-case basis, so you have to determine based on the complexity of the system or whatever, maybe annual is fine. Doesn't necessarily have to be quarterly, but
Yeah,
annual inspections, probably annual maintenance followed by an inspection with a report provided to somebody. Because you've got to be able to, okay, all right, we haven't heard a report from this development and they're overdue by a month. We need to find out what's going on and, then I would cause some action.
So if we put fines come to play on this, and they don't pay it, now what?
Well, then, usually the language of liens on properties happens. Because I know that's the language in my HOA.
What properties?
The properties, well, it depends. Is it a residential or is it a commercial?
Well, let's just say that it's residential on a 15-lot subdivision.
Everyone,
Everyone gets a,
they're all represented by the HOA.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't single out one person because they're not managing their stormwater.
The only other thing that you could do, is just my thought, is the common areas could be leaned. In turn, that goes back to the HOA.
Right.
Because it's still taxable land. So I think that would be a lot cleaner. Instead of divvying up something between 15, 20, 30 homeowners, lien the common area property. That tax bill goes to the HOA, so that lien would have to be satisfied.
the only issue that I have is even if we decide to go on liens, it costs money to put liens on property.
Yeah, the nice thing is, and I have to check with the treasurer, when I place a lien on a property, all the expenses go with the lien.
Yes. It's like you're paying,
Yeah.
you're paying the fine and you're paying for the processing fee for your fine.
In fact, the lien release costs, I calculate into the actual lien. So when it comes time to release the lien, the funds are captured in that.
But every property would have the same amount of a lien.
Well, he's suggesting you don't
I-
put it on the property, put it on the common area. of the
Right.
HOA.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah.
Common.
In an HOA scenario, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's still title and, to common areas. It's owned by the HOA typically.
I didn't,
Yeah, that's
I
the,
didn't think
that's the
that was
language in my
possible.
HOA documentation.
there you go.
That if we don't do what this says, then we are subject to a lien by the Board of Selectmen, I think. And then on top of the lien, we're also, yeah, it pays it forward, so to speak. There's a lose-lose situation there. It refers to a residential, okay. I'm not hunting and pecking, but I'm close. Joseph?
I'm good.
Christopher?
Good to me.
Robert?
Good, thank you.
Okay. All right, so the only thing I added was really just, on my version of this, was I just added HOA things, because I'm more focused on this from the residential, but I do like just the blanket bond, so it doesn't focus on residential, so, let me just save this baby off, and we could switch gears here. Where'd this go? I think it's just on the desktop, right? Yep. That's right. Yep. So, I'll just, so I don't lose our work here, folks. First, look at, holy cow. All right, so that's first page, or second page rather. Now for the previous one. That's page one for you guys. Role of the Stormwater Committee, Conservation Commission, and Planning Board, and stormwater-related permitting. So, I think right away we want to talk about what roles and everybody's doing, but want to start in the same order. Thank you,
Well-
got a bunch. Mr. Figueredo?
I would love to see one board be responsible for approving subdivisions, whatever, anything, new construction. Every board would have to sign off on building permits prior to getting building permits. No one should get a building permit to construct or do whatever until all the boards have signed off on that. I think what just happened with Eamon, over on, whatchamacallit, is a disgrace, in my view, because it's embarrassing. We approve the thing, and then all of a sudden they have to start going back into different meetings and stuff. And I didn't like that at all. I would love to see that ended, and it should end with the planning board, and have all the boards submit their review or whatever you want to call it, to us. Carrie, I know that's probably more work for you, but it's only work. You can always do more. No, I'm sorry.
That's why they
But,
call it work.
huh?
That's why they call it work.
That's right. But I don't see any other way that we can avoid this. I've thought about this. Just about every city in town is doing it that way. They're doing it online.
Yeah, Permit Eyes, has the town looked into that?
So we have Permit Link, which works better than Permit Eyes. The issue is that I've tried to get other boards on and departments on the system. It's been a brick wall since I implemented it 8 years ago. I've been online for 8 years, so.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that's
just-
pretty, like, I've used it,
Right,
I use it at work. We
Right.
do it,
Right.
we do municipal work, and it's, you know, fire chief, this
Right.
one, that one, based on the permit you're going for,
Right.
it's a different set of,
so here's the issue. Statutorily, I'm not allowed to restrict the issuance of a permit for some of the boards and committees' requirements. That's the issue. If the planning board wants to make it part of their permit granting authority, they can do that. I can't. Chapter 1 of the building code tells me very specifically what I can withhold a building permit for.
Like Maris Lane was just an example. It's
Exactly.
like Conservation said,
Exactly.
do this, and you're like,
Exactly.
nobody could block them.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Right. Conservation is not included in chapter 1 of the building code. It's completely independent. I am not allowed to withhold a certificate of occupancy for a house if they still have outstanding order of conditions with the Conservation Commission. That doesn't mean they shouldn't get that done. It means legally I can't withhold a CO.
But what authority would we have?
You have to make it statutorily. You would have to write a bylaw in town that says you are not issuing permits unless X, Y, and Z are done. That's the only way you have legal standings.
But before you issue an occupancy permit, if every board would sign that,
Well, he's saying what if Conservation won't sign it? And he still has to go ahead and issue
it,
it.
it would be a, what
So,
do they
so
call
the,
that?
the state building code is a state document. I have to follow the state building code. It tells me what sign-offs are needed for occupancy. Planning board is not one of them,
but how,
unless,
Conservation.
right. The only, that's probably too blanket of a statement. If it's a planning board project, then yes, I make sure that the conditions of the permit that you issued are met. If you have a condition that says no certificate of occupancy until this happens, certainly that's part of what I can statutorily require. But to just have a blanket statement like you have to sign off on every occupancy permit, it's not legal.
If you had mentioned a bylaw, but if we simply said as an order of conditions that we must be in receipt of acceptance from Conservation, whoever else might be involved, as a condition of our permit, doesn't that achieve the same thing
It-
without going to the bylaw, or is a bylaw kind of still required?
It may, that's a question for an attorney, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure that may apply. It's just the fact that it's not in chapter 1 of the building code, which is the administrative authority that I work under, tells me there's a reason why conservation wasn't included in that. So I would just check with legal counsel before you decide to do that as a planning board. I'm not saying you can't do it.
Right.
Just I would check before you do that.
See, what bothers me is, I'm gonna bring it up again, Maris Lane. Lot 2, when they came before us to continue, I complimented the guy, but I said, one of the things that I would request is that you do not dump any water from Lot 2 onto Lot 3. You have plenty of boulders there, create a retaining wall that will hold that water back. You know, I don't mean that you have to put a plastic barrier or anything like that, just so that the lot wouldn't be, and what does he do? Exactly what I said not to do. And that goes the wrong way. And those are things that I think, in order to protect existing homes that have had a lot of problems. Go ahead, Janet.
So here's the issue, okay? You're talking about multi-layered jurisdictions. That was a septic design that was approved by the health department. That septic design required the system to be raised. The only way you're gonna be able to capture things like that from happening again is if this, because you have authority over that subdivision, is to say, if septic designs are within X amount of feet from a property line, here's how the retaining wall needs to be built. Then, the Title V design that comes into the health department can only be approved if it meets the special permit or the permitting requirements. But that takes a lot of dialogue between departments to make this all work. I think it's important because as time goes on and the land becomes scarce, more situations like Maris Lane are going to be in front of us.
I mean, I don't know that the septic system is even on that side of lot 3 there. I think it was almost like an intentional thing that I think that to heart.
Maybe we're not talking about the same property. You're talking about the property that.
Second lot on the right-hand side to the lot that's very low, that they actually put the drainage out back.
I was talking about the lot at the corner where the sidewalk was.
Okay, well, that was gonna be the next one that I wanted to talk about.
Right.
The second lot, I'm not sure if the septic system is on the left side of the house or the front of the house or whatever.
I don't
But that lot, he graded that towards lot 3. And he already had problems with water. And all he did was add more. And I remember that, I specifically said, you have all the boulders there. All you have to do is just grade that in a way that water does not come on, no more water comes onto his property and just disappeared, you know? It really
So
pissed me off.
I'm hearing Joe wants one board to handle new construction projects and streamline the process for applicants, and PermaLink streamline the process, would also streamline the process, but we have Chapter 1 limitations.
We do, and we also have limitations with other boards and committees getting on board with PermitLink.
Other boards and committees using the internet. Got it.
Yeah, it's been an uphill battle trying to get people to, and it's a very easy system to use. So the conservation agent has complimented it hand over fist. She loves using it, so.
Well, who's holding out?
It's typically money.
No, which departments?
Well, the Board of Health was holding out, and then I finally got the Board of Health to agree. And then the grant, the coalition grant that we are part of, this regional grant, now has their own permitting software they want to implement. So guess what? PermitLink doesn't interface with that. So now we're back to square one because we're going to use a state permitting system for the Board of Health. And PermitLink is on the sideline again. Doesn't help Dayton at all.
Anybody else holding out?
We just recently got the assessors on, so that was a move, and then the tax office has gotten on. So there were holdouts, but we made some recent gains, right?
Anybody else? I'll go after them for you.
Yeah. Kerry,
Carry.
I'm
Take care of that
joking.
tomorrow.
I'm joking.
Well, I think we determined, at least at this point right now, it's too difficult to
Yeah,
do the
no.
permit link with our
I
applications.
said that as a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But just to explain,
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning, the way our permits are, or our applications,
Right. However,
I could still do a sign off.
So you're saying it's our
You can
office?
still do a
no,
summary.
no. What I'm saying is that if you wanted to have a sign-off process
Right.
on permits that you have jurisdictional oversight on, I could easily task it to the planning board for a sign-off. It's gonna require $1,000 user fee to get on to the system,
Is that an annual fee?
annual fee,
Annual.
right? Yep. So, and that's what I do with some of the other departments.
can we pass that cost off somewhere?
You can embed it in your fee structure, sure,
Yeah, yeah.
In our professional services
right.
Administrative.
administrative, yeah,
Administrative fee.
administrative fee, yeah, okay.
So there is an opportunity for the planning board's office to be able to go on a permit link and just, we don't have to have an application process on ours in order to participate, just to sign on.
When I receive a permit application, and it is entered into the system either by the office manager or by the applicant, they can do it both ways, because I still take paper copies. That then gets tasked off to different departments. We recently, Treasurer's been on it, but we recently refined that program. Assessors are now on it. And then Lisa's from Conservation's actually been on it for quite a while now. Health Department, I would have loved to have them on it, but they're not. So I could include you in that process, yes.
So we could look into that and
think we
budget
should, yeah.
$1,000. It was ZBA too, I think.
All right, anything else tonight, Jeff?
Always. Yeah, we're not done yet, sorry, Woody.
Yeah, well, Celtics are on, you know.
What's that?
Celtics are on.
Okay, all right, so I guess, good?
I'm good.
Good for now, okay, Mr. Higgins?
So, a big part of this sounds like, on this document, is what is the role of the Stormwater Committee as it relates to the other committees? Okay. So, and this is my ignorance completely, but looking at the review, it says, the Stormwater Committee is responsible for enforcing the Federal Clean Water Act. Is that because they've been tasked to do that by the Board of Selectmen, by a bylaw, is that a state or federal? Is it just, so what, how did it come to them that they're the responsible party for this?
Each municipality is required to, by default, comply with that regulatory
Yeah.
requirement. I don't know how it landed with the Stormwater Committee.
So that was
I've
it.
never read it anywhere
Okay.
specifically.
So that was a town decision at some point, probably Board of Selectmen, to task it to them.
It appears that way, yes.
It could be tasked differently,
As long as the regulation is being
Right.
followed, it doesn't matter who does it.
right, okay. Because I think one of the suggestions was that, that is just one more permit, or one more board to get approval from, you know, when other boards have already approved it. So if they were more of an advisory board to the other boards, or to some position in town, Mr. Ferry, yourself, whatever would be appropriate, that one makes it easier in terms of the number of boards that you have to go to if we get permission. Two, it makes it easier for them, and particularly in emergency sessions, to meet without having to have a quorum, to have public meeting notice, because they're purely advisory at that point. It probably depends upon whether they're advisory to a person or to a board, maybe, you know.
I read your commentary, I think it's spot on. I think that was the intent of the Stormwater Committee, it just morphed into something else.
Okay.
That's all. And, you know, with respect to everyone involved, it's not that anyone feels the Stormwater Committee is any less important. They're actually more important, in my opinion, that way, because this body will then look to the Stormwater Committee and say, we need a report from you on this project before we're gonna move forward with it. It's just the overlapping in the permitting right now, there's redundancy, way too much redundancy.
That's exactly my point.
And then redundancy creates confusion, confusion makes us look like we're unprofessional.
And it's
Why
expensive.
the zigzagging applications back and forth. That's what we want to prevent.
Not to mention your comment earlier about how you thought a real need of the Stormwater Committee was that ongoing maintenance.
Right.
Which is, if they're bogged down over here, they have less time for that. so,
Right.
yeah.
The Stormwater Committee is getting ready to meet with the Board of Selectmen to discuss their role in the future.
Okay,
So, you know, no one else is here from the Stormwater Committee, so let's just let that play out.
yourself,
We have two members.
Mr.
Three
Aguilar.
members.
Jim and I both.
yeah.
Well,
The chairman's not here.
and Joseph is part of it too.
Yeah, he sure is.
He just got
Oh,
reappointed.
well, hey,
tonight.
maybe we shouldn't be talking.
I'm only on the board when he's not.
He just got appointed.
He's alternate.
We're not making any decisions.
Yeah. No, I guess,
But to Dan's point, there you go, right?
yeah. I mean, I guess
I think you have a quorum, actually.
Yeah, we would probably have a quorum.
he's here on behalf of the building commissioner, so,
Right.
sorry. We don't have a quorum.
Doesn't count.
I can show you the legal decision if you'd like,
No, I'm not gonna fight you on it. but
because I did go to the
let's,
state to ask that very question.
Let's move on.
Okay, so, you said you had no comment. I think I know how you feel, Woody, and you want to get to the Celtics. So, my comments and,
Laura.
what's that?
So does Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura does too.
All right, so I guess what I sent to you guys, out to the group here, you guys saw what I sent out on April 15th. It's really in line with, I mean, you provided some commentary, and we're in agreement on where we think this should go. And streamlining is very, very important, because I think we need to be more efficient, and then provide a service to anybody coming to the town for anything else, anything at all, whether it's a resident or whether it's somebody outside, to streamline this and be as efficient of their time and our time, and obviously their money and taxpayers' money. So I like the idea of the permalink, is it permit link or permalink?
Permit link.
Permit link. And I want to pursue that. Planning, I think zoning should get on board too.
I think I can probably work out something with them where you can have one login for both departments. So,
That would be the ideal.
yeah.
Save 1,000.
Yeah, because you're covering both anyway. And then, so.
Both of them are gonna be involved, both boards are gonna be involved anyway, so.
Right.
So the one deviation that I had from Mr. Higgins' plan, which I don't know if it's legal, and I don't believe it is we were talking about, like I said, okay, we wanted one clearinghouse for all applications, and that was all roads lead to Carrie, right? Carrie's office, so to speak, because she's the office manager for planning and zoning board, ZBA. So I said, what if that was the hub for all these applications coming in? And not only would stormwater be advisory, but also Conservation Commission would be advisory. But I don't think you can do that with Concom, how I understood it.
I don't think so. There's a
So-
reason it's not in the building code.
Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take what I sent to everybody and just put Concom back to kind of the top of the application input and delete stormwater where it is. That's the only change I'm gonna make on what I sent out. And I'm gonna take comments that we have here and roll them into one. So I think we wanna get Mr. Mullen all of our inputs.
I would be interested in a legal opinion about whether really a bylaw change would be needed, or simply just our including in our conditions that it has passed Concom.
Right.
That's our condition, and that kind of satisfies it, so that there's no gaps between them approving things that,
Okay.
us not knowing or not being able to force things because,
Well, take tonight.
yeah, exactly.
So in
Precisely
tonight's
that case.
situation, we said we gotta continue this, because you gotta go to conservation and come back. So what if we did a conditional approval, you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying if all of our conditions, just as a matter of rote, just said, and if applicable, have, received approval from the Conservation Commission.
Well, you could always put the language in as a condition in the decision.
Well, Jim was saying
Yeah.
he thinks that would be okay, but maybe a
Well, that's what we don't
bylaw-
know, yeah.
I don't know
So
that.
maybe just having an attorney just tell us, is that
I'm
sufficiently
not trying to
strong?
complicate things, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. It's worth asking if that's even legal. Okay. All right, so,
I don't think anything that we've discussed tonight would prevent them from having to come here, then go to Concom, then come back here.
okay.
I mean, that's still gonna be the process, right? I mean, we're still different committees, different charges, different schedules.
Oh, I know, but if we have, it would streamline the public hearing to approval process. Well, no, we couldn't close the public hearing till Concom.
Can't close the public hearing. Well,
Actually, we can't. We can close our public hearing.
yeah.
Make a decision, and then if it was a conditional decision based on conservation, well, there would be stormwater applications as well. But if there are other, well, I don't know, it's just kind of messy.
See the problem?
Yeah, it's messy.
It is.
It's
Very
conditions it's conditional upon you not having any other problems.
Well, like, going back to your wonderful flow chart there, totally unrelated, but does a flow chart exist for the permitting process for the applicant?
We had a flawless system in place. I had a sign-off process. It worked for many, many, many years, thousands of permits. And then all of a sudden, the sign-off sheet was used as a brick wall to stop development by departments and committees, which was in turn illegal because the building code says, I only look for these things in chapter 1. So by you not signing the sign-off sheet, you were holding up a permit that otherwise could legally be issued. I stopped the sign-off sheet when that happened. There is no more sign-off sheet. Because now I jeopardize my department of not being in conformance with the statutes. So now we're trying to figure out how do we get back to that, to a point where we're not holding up someone from legally getting a permit.
I think my point is, you know, we're trying to simplify, right? But what keeps running through my mind sitting here is, well, what if I wanted to build a house today, right now? I mean, I have probably a little bit of a leg up than just being involved in the planning board than the normal person, and I wouldn't even know where to start.
Right,
I
well,
would just start asking all you guys what to do.
I think you need to make the dissension between, you know, if you come into my office with an A&R lot, meaning, you know, you have a fully conforming lot, that process is fairly forthright to get your building permit.
Right.
There are some approvals that are needed, yes, but you don't have all this involvement of the planning board, of, you know, there will be some conservation, you'll have health department, but it's much more condensed. And we issue permits like that all the time. I think what you're referring to is more complex and comprehensive permitting processes, which do involve multiple boards and committees, and can take quite some
Sure,
time to
yeah.
get through, right? But to answer your question, you still come into my office, by the time you leave my office, you'll know exactly what you need to do.
Right. Okay.
And I prefer that type of dialogue than you going online and looking at a beautiful little color chart and then, you know, going and doing everything. Come in and see me, we'll talk, I'll tell you what needs to be done.
Right.
After all, you're gonna be a resident in town, right?
Yeah.
I'll be doing that soon.
Somebody needs to
Yeah,
start
my
telling
wife
these
had a
people
Let's
that if they own a chainsaw, it does not mean they can cut down any tree.
You don't need a building permit to cut a tree down.
Well, you know, there's been so many issues lately of people cutting down trees, some few trees, some a lot of trees, but in a wetland or in a buffer area and it's been one nightmare after another, and you can't really blame a homeowner who buys a $1 million home, a $750,000 home, and he's got a few trees and he's got a chainsaw and he cuts them down, and then people are all over him telling him he has to replicate the wetlands and, you know, and it's been happening a lot. Yeah, we all know that. But nobody's educating these people. I feel bad. You know, just an average person who cut down a few trees just happened to cut the wrong ones. It's awful.
So I agree, but at the same time, I also have to let you know that, I mean, Lisa did really well with Jim Digits, the chairman, to come up with like a pamphlet for homeowners, you know, information, really quick information
Yeah.
for them to read. It's up to the individual to read it. The town can't force them.
And I
So
said
the
this last
education
week.
is there, but they need to look for it and ask
When
about
someone
it
goes
too.
to the signing of their home and they just sign it, maybe 1% of the population may read all the fine print.
Correct.
Jeff read his.
But, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
No, I didn't read mine. Wait to get out of that room. How many more you gotta sign?
I do feel bad for these people, you know. And some people get a little carried away and they cut a lot of trees.
I don't disagree with you, but I think we also have to remember that there's a responsibility on the property owner too.
Well,
And the property owner has to, if they're gonna sit there and sign all those papers and not read it, I get it, it's tedious, I've been in real estate closings and helped with that. I completely understand that, but again, it's the responsibility of the property owner, the closing attorney, and the real estate agent to disclose that.
I
That's
know.
not,
And we could talk about this all night, but
Yeah, we
still,
could.
we need to get the word out to new homeowners in the town of Dayton before you cut anything
I
crazy.
believe Lisa's got the pamphlets
Check
right
with
over
somebody.
there.
You know, I know, right? You know, same way with stormwater too, we pass out calendars, we pass out pamphlets. You know, but the people still are just, you know, the average regular people, they don't understand it. They don't work in our world.
They're
You know,
not,
but then when we come after them, and they have to hire a wetland scientist, and they have to replicate the wetlands, it's very expensive.
I don't remember the meeting. There was some meeting not too long ago we were talking about, it was particularly that point or a related point, but the idea that the developer is responsible for putting permanent markers delineating. Now, the problem with that is that we know wetlands change, so a permanent marker doesn't mean everything, isn't gonna mean the same thing 10 years from now. But something to that effect, like it's their responsibility to delineate the no-touch area or the wetlands area, or that, and we enforce that as part of the condition that they have to do that. I'm trying to remember why that came up here, but I remember that comment got made.
I think
As
that
a
may have been
suggestion.
Maris
Bylaw
Lane.
conversation?
The only one that I'm aware of, or ones that I'm aware of, is if there's a conservation area, like Maris Lane in particular.
Right.
Those are required to be delineated through state statute. That's why,
With a marker?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Normal, under the Wetlands Protection Act, normal everyday wetlands, those are not required to be delineated.
Okay.
but if natural heritage is involved in that, that's when they have to
Yeah, that's the state,
post that. Is
that's a
that what
state
you were saying?
requirement, right, yes. But not every wetland falls under natural heritage.
Correct.
Actually, very few fall under natural heritage.
I fall into it.
All right, anything else on this subject?
Very good dialogue, thank you,
Thank you, that was very good.
all of you.
All right, next item on the agenda, so I'll consolidate these and I'll get these to Mike and you guys will see that.
Thank you.
Thank you, so, next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes for April 17th, 2024.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mrs. Easterday, any correspondence?
None.
Any public input?
He's just standing there nice and,
Yeah, that's,
Want to make a motion?
Aye.
make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
I think
Somebody
we got
second?
some signatures.
Back
Yeah,
there.
Back of the room.
you don't have to do that during the meeting.
Oh,
That's after the meeting.
Yeah, somebody want to second that motion to adjourn? Right. Motion made, seconded. Any discussion before we take it to a vote?
Aye.
Hearing none, all in favor?
hi.
Aye. Good night, Cable.